Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/Nerdery and Murdery. That's audibletrial.com/Nerdery and Murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/Nerdery and Murdery. That's betterhelp.com/Nerdery and Murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. Welcome to the soft, sensual, sunny, bubbly, fun, exciting world of Nerdery and Murdery.
Do I sound that dumb when I do that?
Yep.
We on? Oh.
Yeah, we're hot. Live mics.
Just talking away like nothing's going on here.
Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Yakety schmackety.
Oh, that's just how we are. Welcome to episode 10.
Episode 10 of Nerdery and Murdery. We're going to do something a little different today. I think you guys are going to like it. Geoffrey?
I'm going to be covering your nerdery today.
And I normally cover your murdery, but I'm going to cover a murdery today.
That's awesome. Yes, episode 10, we thought that this was a fun time to do a switch.
Yep.
Can't believe we've done 10 episodes.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I know. Yeah, like 10 already.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to the first 9. I'm really excited to hear the next episode. Like I'm a listener. I'm sorry, I've got a little bit of a chest thing going on.
I think we're all kind of dealing with a little something. We've got...
It's been raining for 5 days!
It's been raining more than that, and we've got massive pollen in the air, massive mold in the air.
Oh, mold, yeah.
We're all dealing with sinus issues from allergies, and I'm dealing with a back issue, potentially
Do you need a
bad disc or something. I don't know.
Do you need a heating pad or something?
No.
Let me go walk on your back?
No.
I'll walk on your back.
God, no.
No. Okay. It might have been a little different, 20 years ago when I was only like 130 pounds.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, all right, fair
I'm
enough.
good. I'm seeing a physical therapist and probably need an MRI or something. Apologize for the lawnmowers outside. They're cutting some grass, so we'll get a little bit of that in this episode.
Cutting some grass in the rain.
In the rain.
In the rain. Yeah, that's going to look great.
This episode does come out on August 8th.
August 8th.
So here we are in our blah, blah, blah.
Too much cold medicine.
Podcast Wayback Machine.
Yes.
And, we're still in May.
Yes.
So, we've still got the spring weather. When this comes out, we'll be in the middle of fuck all hot.
Yes.
August
Hotter
in
than
Texas.
hell. August 8th.
So today, as we're recording, this is our early release for episode 1 for our patrons.
Yes. Our
Came
patrons get the first episode today.
Today.
Yeah.
It came out at 12:01 a.m.
Oh, midnight last night?
Yep.
Well, midnight this morning. Nice.
I've already been there and seen it. So yeah,
nice.
it's out. So that's
Need to check it
exciting. I'm excited that we finally have something out there live, and we're just 2 weeks from official go live.
Yes. More like a soft opening, as it were.
Maybe.
As you do.
As we do. So that was really cool that finally came out. I've just been chomping at the bit to see something go live. And I have 2 dogs at my feet. Bella and Jane are just sitting here at my feet. Hey, stop.
I'm telling
stop
you,
hitting
they
the
like to
microphone.
listen. They love to listen to this.
They get scared on the weather. It's just how they are. They're weirdos, but so yeah, I have them sitting underneath.
Nice.
I did want to. I did have a couple of back notes that I wanted to cover real quick as I was going back and listening to the edits. Back in episode 8, there's a very audible burp. That was a dog.
Okay.
That was Loki, by the way.
No. Oh, the dog burp. Yeah. I was listening to the others like, oh, yeah. Okay. We did get that. So, yes. Excellent.
Burping his dog in the world. So he's burping on there.
I actually have an edit point for episode 1. I said Steve Winwood was in the Jefferson Davis group, which is a horrible name.
We can't edit it now. It's live.
Well, I know, but I can say, hey, he was in the Spencer Davis group is actually the name of the thing.
Well, and this is a good spot for it too, because I mean, I've got one correction from episode 9, and it's so funny. I hate that I missed it when we said it, or when you said it, or I said it. I can't even remember at this point. But as I think about these episodes, as I'm going back and listen, I realize that as we're recording, I'm kind of blacking out. I'm just so tunnel vision.
Just tuned in. Just right on it.
Yeah, because I'll go back and I'll listen. I'm like, I don't remember saying that. Yeah. But yeah, in episode 9, we said that Empire Strikes Back came out in 1983.
It was
and that's
Return of the Jedi. Empire Strikes
1983.
Back came out in 1980.
Yes. So we know that.
Yes.
I
should have said Jedi. It was me. I did it.
Well, and I'm sure some people are going to really flame us when they hear it and go, you idiots, you don't know anything. But yes, we do know Empire was 1980 and Jedi was 83.
So now it's fixed.
I did want to say we have a follower on our website in Ireland.
What?
As I was looking at the stats, we have somebody from Ireland who's checked us out. So I thought that was, I don't know who it is.
Oh, I don't think I know anyone.
But I think it's cool. So whoever you are from Ireland, reach out, say something.
Come see us. Talk to us. I got a student at Tarleton who is actively listening because I gave my oldest daughter, her friend Michelle, I'm going to name check her now. She's basically like a second kid, or
right.
Fourth kid. I've known this kid for 10 years, and she took a bunch of the cards and has been passing them out at Tarleton.
Very nice.
Yeah. So we've already got a listener.
Well, that's good. I'll take a college base.
Yes.
I did go back and research because we couldn't remember what this was, but I did find it at Hewlin Mall. The arcade was Goldmine.
Goldmine,
followed by Tilt.
That's the one I remember.
So it was Goldmine when it was all dark and dank inside, and then Tilt kind of brightened up a little bit. Tilt, it went from the black interior to a blue. And so,
it was still a little cake.
It was Goldmine and Tilt. I didn't have to go look that up.
Okay, good. Because I could not remember for the life of me the name of that.
I couldn't either. I had to go back and look.
And like I remember Tilt. I don't remember it being Goldmine, but I know I was there.
Oh, I definitely remember it being Goldmine. As soon as I found it, I was, I knew that I had.
Yeah.
As soon as I found it, I knew I'd found it. There we go.
Okay, that's good. No, that tracks.
I did want to mention that as I was going through different pieces of research, I did find a website you need to check out. Oh. And it's the Museum of Role-Playing Games.
What?
Yeah.
What?
You need to check it out. It's got some...
Okay. We're going to be doing not this episode, but we are going to be recording a role-playing game episode today.
Right.
Yes. So...
Yeah. So check that out at some point. It's got some... out of print stuff that it covers. It's not complete. It's not all inclusive of role playing games. But I found it really kind of cool to read through it. It had some good stuff on there. Yes.
I need that. I need that in my life.
I figured. So I saved that for you. Really hope that everybody likes the looks into our minds.
Yes. And, I love the pictures,
especially as we stray off topic, as we do.
Yes, as we do. I love the pictures too. The pictures on the website.
Oh, of us?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to see us with our mouse pads from gift giving day, we've got pictures on our websites of us. William in his obscura, as it were.
I think that's a great bit. I am perfectly happy with him doing that. As long as he can. Eventually, we're going to sneak a picture of it, though. Eventually, yeah. He's shaking his head. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
He's shy.
So shy.
He's shy.
And again, if you guys could see what we see, it's like steak dinner. With potatoes, maybe some asparagus on the side.
You're an idiot. Hope everybody knows that that's very tongue-in-cheek.
Yes.
That I've just called you an idiot for years when you say something goofy.
Well, I think at one point you called Will an idiot, and I was like, hey, he's not talking to me this time.
So we're switching it up this week. I'm going to cover the Nerdery, and Zig will cover the Murdery. Excited to hear what he's found.
Yes. I'm going to endeavor to give the Murdery justice. Bear with me.
Oh sure,
this is my first
happy to do the switch.
Yeah.
I'll get into the Nerdery side of it. I am wearing a Cowboys jersey today.
Cowboys, that's the football.
That is the football.
Okay.
And it's a very specific jersey. This is for when Drew Bledsoe was the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And Drew Bledsoe was one of my favorite players, but I'm not going to wear a Patriots jersey, which is where he started.
Okay.
But I'm wearing it very specifically because today for the Nerdery, I'm going to discuss fantasy football.
Aha!
Which is an obsession.
Yes.
Fantasy football is a game, and it's really more than a game. It's an obsession. It's an obsession all over.
Yes.
And I wore the Drew Bledsoe jersey because in my very first draft ever, he was my first pick in the draft. So that's why I'm wearing the jersey today for
Look at you
in honor of my first draft.
Your first draft.
I just happened to have this in my closet, and it actually fit. I was shocked. So, but fantasy football, a little just kind of a background of it. This is where people serve as general managers of their own football team. They're basically acting like their owners. They're gonna draft players for their teams, and it's generally about a professional football team, usually the NFL.
Yes,
NFL is your most common.
Yes, they do have them for the CFL too, though. Don't they?
They do, but it's not as common. You even have some for college, which college would be rough. But the NFL is your most prominent. It's your biggest one out there. There's all kinds of other fantasy leagues, baseball, golf.
I have heard that the fantasy baseball thing is so technical, and it's really, really difficult.
It is.
You got to spend a lot of time doing it.
It is. I've played it, and I played it for 1 or 2 seasons, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's you got to commit a lot of time to that.
You do. I mean, you have to focus every single day. You got to realize in baseball, there's 162 games. There's games going every day.
Yeah.
And you have to constantly check your lineup to have people in there that are scoring points, which is, the whole thing with fantasy football. You're scoring points. Well, in fantasy football, in fantasy football, owners are drafting their team from all relevant players.
Okay.
In whatever professional league. In other words, it's players that make points for a team.
Yes.
And I say that relevant. No player is irrelevant. But example, with very, very few, rare exception, offensive linemen are examples of players who, in general, don't by themselves amass points.
Okay. They do it as a team.
Right. Well, you don't even have an offensive team. You will have a defensive team. But there are some leagues that have individual defensive players.
Wow.
So you don't, in general, have it for offensive linemen. So that's just an example.
Mm-hmm.
The history of fantasy football, it can be traced back to Wilfred Bill Winkenbach, who was a limited partner in the Oakland Raiders organization.
Okay.
In 1962, Bill, along with Raiders public relation employee Bill Tunnell and Oakland Tribune reporter Scotty Sterling, they developed the rules that would eventually be the basis for modern fantasy football. So 1962.
Wow. I did not realize, because I knew that, I knew that fantasy football went back to the mid 90s, because I remember that's when you started it. And I actually did it too. I did it just because I wanted to hang out with Geoffrey, and, I thought it was kind of D&D-ish. So I won 1 year. 1 year.
But yeah, a lot of people are where you are that think it goes back to the 90s or even the late 80s. But no, 62. I was surprised it went back that far.
Yeah.
The inaugural league was called the GOPL, Greater Oakland Professional Pigskin Prognosticators League.
Wow.
GOPL.
Wow.
Consisted of 8 members who were made up of administrative affiliates of the AFL, pro football journalists, and individuals who had purchased or sold 10 season tickets for the Raiders in 63.
Okay.
So that's where they got their first group from. As of 2015, that league is still active using the original scoring system.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I know. They've been playing for,
yeah.
Good Lord.
Well, that's like,
can I do math? That's 63, 40, they're over 40 years now. Is that right?
50.
Did I do that right? Is it over 50?
Well, it's almost 50. It's like
almost
49.
50 now. Yeah.
It was 63, so yeah, 48, sorry.
In 69, Andy Musolimus, who was one of the original creators of GOPL, he took the game to his favorite sports bar, which was called the King's X. I thought you would like that one.
I like the King's X. That's a pretty cool guy. I bet they had like swords and stuff on the wall.
Maybe. But this is where the first public league was formed, when he took it there. From this point forward, it spread by word of mouth when patrons from other cities visited the bar, and then they would branch out from there. So this was really kind of this was the root of the beginnings. As fantasy football began spreading across the country, there was a group of 6 students from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And they founded the Indoor Football League in 1980. It is one of the oldest public leagues still in operation today.
Okay. 1980. Wow. But still way farther back than I.
All 6 of the original members are still actively involved, and they do have a trophy that is engraved with every year's winner by the same company that made the trophy in 1980.
Wow.
I know. I thought that was really cool.
Wow.
Trophies kind of get to be a thing in fantasy football.
Yes.
In 1983, I love this one. There was a league formed at Marist School in Atlanta by 7 students. And this was before ESPN was on the air and statistics were available on the internet. So league members would call a TNT sportscaster who was a school graduate. And his name was Ernie Johnson Jr. And they would call him to get stat updates before the box scores appeared in the Monday papers.
Oh, no. This poor guy. I bet they wore this dude out. It's like, oh, my God, stop calling me.
In 1985, the first online leagues were made available through Q-Link, which was later America Online.
Yeah.
And in 87, the first national magazine dedicated to fantasy football Index, was launched.
Okay.
When I got into fantasy football, I bought this magazine every year without fail.
Yeah.
It's
for a mag. It's a big magazine too.
Yeah,
if I remember
it's
correctly.
big. It has a ton of info in it. Stats for the previous year, upcoming players, rankings, for all kinds of different types of leagues. But yeah, I bought this every single year.
I can remember. I can remember you would have the book and the USA Today out, and he would go up to the bar. We mentioned Sharky's.
Well, not the book, because once the draft was over,
you didn't need the book.
I would sometimes go back and look at the book for some different things, but it was the paper, and I'm actually getting to that.
Yeah, I remember he's got this USA Today, and he would spend hours just going over it, and I'm like, what are we doing? What are you doing?
The book I carried with me everywhere until our draft day, which was always in August. And I read it daily. I just needed to know. I needed to know everything to prepare for the upcoming year. In 1990, the first national competition began. It was called the Pigskin Playoff.
Okay.
And people would call a toll-free number and enter their 4-digit code to select players for their team.
Wow.
And this is this is close to when I entered fantasy football. I'm fairly certain it was 93 when I started.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
So we're kind of getting to where I joined in this, because I'd heard about fantasy leagues, and I'm an avid football watcher.
Yes.
So I wanted to try it, and I polled all my friends and said, "Hey, do you want to try this?" And we ended up starting our league. In 1997, CBS launched their online fantasy football site with other networks and websites to follow. Yahoo was the first to offer free leagues because CBS was free at first.
Yeah.
Because I remember we went to that and then it started charging, and we've stayed with CBS pretty consistently ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was talking to Randy the other day. He's like, "Yeah, I like to keep my little CBS thing up." And, yeah.
In 97, I did that in 2017. 59 million people played fantasy sports, while 4 out of 5 of them play fantasy football.
Wow,
that's what I said. Fantasy football is the big one.
Wow.
In 2012, it was estimated that $1.6 billion was spent annually on fantasy sports in the U.S. and Canada. And in 2019, it's estimated at more than $7 billion. Additionally, ad revenue is estimated about another $2 to $5 billion annually.
Wow.
That's how big fantasy football is.
That is really, really big.
So fantasy football, in my personal opinion, I think was the onus for the red zone, where you could watch multiple games at once.
Yes.
The constant stats at the bottom of the screen. Yeah. I think that was really the impetus for all of that, because fantasy got so huge.
Do you think it's hurt the viewing of the game in its pure form at all, or do you think it's enhanced it?
Some people, so there's both sides. For me, it's enhanced it.
Okay.
For some people, they think it's taken away from the game.
Yeah.
Because fantasy football has changed a lot of people to where they're not following a specific team as much, as they're following their players.
Okay.
I'm not that way, because I'll still miss a game or two here and there, if Chelsea wants to go shopping or do something else. But the Cowboys game, I don't miss a Cowboys game. I have to be home for that. I have to be listening. So it hasn't changed it for me that way, but there are a lot of people that say that fantasy football is hurt. But it doesn't stop how big it gets. I mean, now you've got DraftKings, and you've got the Fox Sports Sunday 6, where you're picking for money.
I will say personally that from, playing this because I did play a couple of seasons with you guys, it actually got me into watching football, which I didn't do before.
That happens for a lot of people.
Yeah. So I would say it brought at least one more person to watch. I don't watch it now, but I also don't play fantasy football either.
Well, and you'll get people that get into it that have not been fantasy players, but they're very good at not only reading but remembering statistics.
Yes.
And he'll get into it for the money because it is money.
Yeah.
My league that I'm in now is a money league,
Yeah.
and there's a pot that is given out at the end of the year for the winner and the runner up and third and fourth place. There are some leagues out there that do a weekly payout for high scores. It's all over the place with it, but the majority of your leagues are money leagues. You pay in a certain amount, and at the end, it's dispersed out on a percentage basis depending on where you play.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's so many different leagues. I kind of had them listed here and was going to go over them. You've got your standard yearly league, and that's where you draft new players every single year. You don't keep players at all. That's exactly where I started.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to go to the next year and you're going to have an empty roster and you're going to start again.
Yeah.
Keeper leagues, which I went into after that, you kept a set number of players from year to year.
Okay, so you get like 5 or 10 players you get to keep.
No, it's generally not that much. You're typically on a keeper league. It's typically 1, 2, or 3.
Okay,
it's not a whole team.
Okay.
The rest of your team goes blank. So you keep certain players. Dynasty, which is what I'm currently in, that's where you keep your whole team year after year.
And if you want a new player, you have to drop an old player.
Yes, if you don't have a slot open because you've got roster limits.
Yes.
In typical dynasty leagues, you're only drafting from rookies from year to year versus others, you're drafting any active player.
Yeah. So like a real football team, you don't know. You can prognosticate that this rookie's going to be great, but you don't really know.
Right. Yeah, and that's where things get even more interesting from a fantasy football perspective. Is it changes to where people in a year-to-year league, people watch almost exclusively the NFL.
Yeah.
And they might dabble in some college, but they're not gonna dig deep into the college. In a dynasty league where you're only drafting rookies, now you're following college more.
Yeah.
You're looking at what people did in college and how do you think they're going to fare in the NFL. Because when they're drafted, then that's when you're going to pick these players up based on what you believe they're capable of doing in the NFL. Draft is an annual thing for me. I watch it every single year, the NFL draft, all weekend, because I want to see who comes out. I will say the funny thing is, I missed the draft this year.
Okay.
First time in 20 years, I've missed the draft. And I missed the draft because I was researching for the podcast. I was researching for the podcast, and a friend of mine sent me a text and said, "Oh my God, are you watching this?" And I said, "Watching what?"
Watching what?
And then I went, "Oh my God, the draft's on." And so I had to turn on the TV and I had to look for the draft and then scroll through on my phone and see who's been drafted because I will usually follow this. This is a thing for me, and the podcast made me completely miss it this year. So bad podcast.
Bad podcast.
Past that, you have salary cap leagues. These are where owners have a set amount of money to draft players. Players have set values.
Okay.
You have auction leagues where the team is given a budget and they've got to use that budget to bid on players.
Okay.
2 QB leagues where you start 2 quarterbacks each week. Empire, this is a dynasty style format, but there's a side pot created from entry fees. And once a player wins, I thought this was interesting. Once a player wins 2 years in a row, they win whatever is in the side pot, and then the league starts over.
Oh, wow.
So that's a carryover. So if you only have one person win, different person each year, that can become a huge pot eventually. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Nice.
Superflex leagues, this is where you can start a QB in the flex position, which is generally saved for running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. And I'll kind of explain that here in a minute, what flex is. IDP is teams that draft individual defensive players instead of team defenses.
Okay. Yeah,
I've
like
never
we were
gotten
talking
into IDP.
Yeah.
We always use team defenses.
Yeah.
The fantasy football draft, it occurs yearly before the start of the regular season. Your standard and salary cap generally uses a serpentine style draft order, and the draft order's in a random draw of some type. So for example, in round 1, you're going to go team 1 to X, and round 2 is X to 1, and then you reverse that every other round.
Okay.
Keeper and dynasty leagues generally do draft order based on last year's standings because these leagues carry over from year to year.
Yeah.
So that's going to be 1 to X, 1 to X.
So the
1
worst,
to X.
so the worst team gets to pick first.
Correct. Just like in the NFL, the worst team has got the top pick in the draft.
Okay.
And that's where it kind of becomes a lot more like being a true owner because you can trade draft picks. You could take a player and say, hey, I'll give you this player for these draft picks, this draft pick, this position in the draft, versus trading just player for player, which often happens. Drafts can be in person or online. The majority of drafts are now online with COVID. Mine's usually in person, but COVID last year forced us online.
Yeah.
We're actually taking a vote right now on whether we're going to go online or in person. Me personally, I'm ready to go back in person.
Yeah.
Scoring, it's based on how a player does in any given week, and the scories. Wow.
The scories.
What's wrong with me today?
Hello, scories. Back pain.
The scoring varies across leagues, but there's basically some variation of you're going to get 1 point per X number of yards passing, 1 point per X number of yards running the ball or rushing, 1 point per X yards receiving or catching the ball. 6 points for a TD is very common, 1 point for an extra point, 3 points for a field goal. You might get points per sack, points per interception, points for a shutout. There's all kinds of variations in there, but that's kind of your standards. So again, I started in fantasy football about 93 in a standard yearly draft, as I had said. I was the commissioner. We didn't have internet stats. And as you talked about, every Monday and Tuesday, I sat in a bar with my newspaper box score, and it was generally USA Today or it was the Star Telegram, and a calculator to figure out scores.
Yep.
And I sat there and went through all the box scores of all the games, and I'm looking for players on teams that scored points from their stats. And I'd have to sit there and figure this out. And I always on Wednesdays, I called up my friend John Johnson and I said, okay, these are the scores I have.
Yeah.
He had done it too.
To check them.
Compared.
Yeah. John, and he's still in that dynasty league, right? John Johnson?
No, he's we didn't do a dynasty league with that group.
Oh, the old Sharkies league.
We did a keeper. I think that league is still going.
Yeah.
I moved on, and I'm in a different one. But yeah, John, if we had a difference in scores, then we go back to the box score
and look at it again,
total it up again, and figure it out.
John Johnson.
Once we had everything figured out, I would print out the totals and I would either fax the sheet to someone or people knew I would go up to the bar on Wednesdays with a stack of the scores and I would hand them out. So it was a very manual. I have to say that I was way better at stats then.
Yeah.
Because
you had to be.
I was buried in them.
Yeah.
I knew stats for every player in the league. I mean, that's just kind of how my mind works. I read things, I store it, it's sitting up there.
Yeah.
And those stats would just stay in my head. And that actually enabled me to find diamonds in the rough who were suddenly up and coming.
Yes.
And were potentially about to be big scores. And I would, get them onto my team.
You know what? I can attest. I've seen it. He started out pretty good at this. After he was commissioner for a couple of years, he got way better, and it was by a magnitude of probably 10.
So I'm still very good at it.
Yeah.
Can we have more things start around here?
Yes. I think we should leave this bit in.
You think what?
I think we should leave that bit in. It's a vacuum cleaner.
Stupid vacuum.
It's a vacuum cleaner. And it makes noise.
Well, it does that every week. It just suddenly just decides to start up. I guess it sees me here. I don't know. It thinks I'm dirt. I don't know. Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Probably. Boy, that needs to stay in.
Yes.
So I generally, most years I'm in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I'm not in the playoffs because I am still very good at watching the stats and combing through and trying to find. But I'm definitely not as good as I used to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were studying the stats every single day. Well, I mean, at least half the week, though.
Well, yeah, at least half the week. And then, I'm kind of thinking about it for Friday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then Sunday, I'm watching all the games because the bar we went to had 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 or 14 TVs.
Yep.
And we could watch several games at once. And we did watch several games at once. The Cowboys game was always going to be on.
Yeah, it was on the big TV.
It was on the big TV. But it would also be on some of the smallers. But when the Cowboys weren't on, you would have other games that you could watch. And we did that. We did that for a long, long time. Is went to bars to watch them. That kind of dwindled away as we got older and people moved away. Didn't have the same guys to hang out with, and watch it more at home now.
Yeah.
But we also have it on our phones.
Yeah.
I talked about the fantasy draft day as well as NFL draft weekend. Looking at the scores, trying to pick up the free agents, watching the injury report is key.
Okay.
You want to see, because every league from going back to the beginning to now, you had a deadline to submit your roster for the week.
Yes.
To set your lineup.
Yeah.
And so when we first started, the deadline for a roster change was 11 a.m. Central because the game started at noon.
Yes.
And so when it was back before we had it on the computer, people would have to call me and if I didn't answer, they had to leave a voicemail. And if there was a roster change after lineups were submitted, I had to show that somebody left a voicemail and there was a timestamp.
Yes.
Because fantasy football would cause arguments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they would get heated.
Very heated.
Not quite to blows, but it got close.
I saw friendships lost over fantasy football.
Yeah, people who'd been friends for years.
Right. Because people thought it was, they were colluding or they submitted illegal lineups. So that's why I always made sure of the timestamps. And I started telling people, call me on Sunday, leave a message. I'm not picking up the phone because I wanted that timestamp.
Yes.
I wanted to be able to prove it. And that would get so maddening is because I would hand out the rosters for that week around the bar. And people are seeing it, and then suddenly Monday there's a new player where there wasn't before, and somebody won where they wouldn't have won before. I'd have to produce that timestamp.
There you go. There's the timestamp.
Yeah,
okay. All right,
I'd have
I see
to produce that voicemail, and because it would cause some huge arguments. So that's why the injury report was key. You had to watch it. Now with the days of everything on the computer, the deadline is like 5 minutes before kickoff.
Right on.
Because you can go change your lineup that quick. That's why I watch the pregame shows and I'm watching for the injury report because there are some players that I'm waiting to see. Are they going to play this week?
Are they going to play today?
And so you got to watch that. Then you got to be able to dig through, what does probable mean? What does questionable mean? Out is out.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. But you'd have people who are doubtful, people who are probable, and then wouldn't play.
ACL, end of season.
Well, ACL is end of season. Yeah, that's a no-brainer there. You get someone with an ACL. If you're in a year-to-year league, you drop that player. They're useless to you that year. If you're in a dynasty league, well, now you got to decide if you're going to keep them till the next year.
They might get better.
They might. ACLs typically don't. They typically don't return to their previous form. The biggest exception I can think of to that is Adrian Peterson. He came back from an ACL and was actually better than when he before he got it. I mean, he was a great player before he went out too, but yeah, no, he was even better. So medical technology has improved and people come back. So
Adrian Peterson, is this a guy you know? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I'm just making sure.
He's running back in the NFL.
Oh, okay.
Still playing to this
okay.
day.
Oh, good for him. All right.
It's your fam?
Yeah. That's my cousin. He's Palestinian as well.
Really?
Is he really?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I knew he was. Yeah. Cool. William talked.
He did. I think we even recorded it, maybe.
Oh, no, that's staying in for sure.
Oh, God,
That's
yes.
staying in for sure.
Oh, please. He just realized he talked. Oh, finger guns.
So yeah, I had that manual entry that I did. About 3 years in, I got a program on floppy disk. And
3.5. Or was it 5.25?
No, it was 3. Yeah, no, it was 3.5. And so I loaded the program on my computer, and every Wednesday morning, I would connect my dial-up 56K baud modem out to the internet, and it would pull the stats down and compile them for
that
me.
Noise.
I know.
I miss that noise.
But it
Handshake.
would pull the stats down for me, and then I could print out or email the scores. I still printed them out, because there were people that wanted the hard copy, but but I could email them out. So that's when things really changed for me. CBS Sports opened their first website, which I talked about earlier. Not only would it calculate scores, but our rosters would be on there. We could perform roster moves. We could perform trades, and I can watch updates live on my phone.
Well, good Lord, it freed up probably 20 hours a week of your time.
Oh yeah, sure. But I still spend time. So with the app now, where I can watch the scores live throughout the day for all the other games, I'm also looking at it throughout the week. I'm looking for injury reports. I'm looking for updates. I'm looking for that diamond in the rough because maybe I need to enhance my team somewhere a little bit. I'm looking at potential trades. I can use the app and I'll go look at what a team has and kind of figure out, okay, this is what they need. Well, I have that type of player to offer. So I'm going to do this because they have a player I want.
Okay.
And it comes into a lot of big negotiation, and those can get heated too.
Yes.
I've seen trades ruin friendships.
Yes.
I've seen trades go into people talking about collusion, and it's just so wild how competitive it gets.
Randy, who is in the Dynasty League with you, he and I, because I go over his house at least once a week because we both have two 6, almost 7-year-old little girls that like to play together. So we'll sit around and talk, and he will regale me with stories of, hey man, you should see what they're talking about on this trade, how they just freaked out over it and just giggle about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. And I'm in one of those. I'm in a fight that has not ceased yet.
Oh no.
With someone over their trading style. I will put it that way. I don't appreciate their trading style.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to say any more than that.
Right on.
I'm not going to call somebody out. But yeah, it's been pretty heated for about a good 6-7 months.
Oh wow.
Now.
Oh wow.
Haven't talked to that person since, and so I've been a part of that myself.
Yes. Well, that wasn't the one we were giggling about.
So
it was something else.
No, I wasn't saying you were. I just, I'm just telling on myself and admitting that. I've been in this Dynasty League for several years now.
You were one of the people that started it, right?
I was one of the original members.
And it was you and
I think it was either Randy or John that came up with the idea of starting a Dynasty League in the first place.
Yeah.
And back then, when I first got into it, that was back when yearly I was in 6 leagues.
6 leagues. Yeah. And I know Randy is still in like 3 or 4. And
I'm down to 1.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, that's a lot of information.
It's a lot, and it's a lot of money to put out too, because most of those were money leagues.
Money leagues, yeah.
And so I've gone down to one, and not for the money, but just for the time.
Yeah.
It also gets very hard. It gets very conflicting, because when you have a player in one league that you're playing against in another league, it becomes very difficult.
Oh, crap. Okay, so he's going to make me money over here, but he's going to lose me money over here. Oh, no.
We had a guy in our Dynasty League that quit because he started into DraftKings.
Yeah.
And it was just really getting very conflicting for him, because there was a player he wanted to start in DraftKings to win him some money.
Yeah.
That he was playing against in fantasy football.
Oh, no.
And it was affecting his judgment with how he was setting his lineup and what he was doing. So
that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
And that's why I went down to one league. It's just it's too much conflict.
Yeah.
Between yourself and your teams. That it was harder for me to have fun continuing that way. So I went down to one league. And like I said, I've been in this one for several years now. Most of the original members are still in it. We've had a few new people come in, as some people have left. We haven't had that many. I think we may have had 2 or 3 people leave the league, and they've been replaced, and those replacements have been there, I want to say, probably about 3 years now. But it's fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's an obsession. It's a big obsession for some people.
Something that you like to nerd out about.
It is something I like to nerd out about. Because I enjoy it. I enjoy that aspect of the game. And I'm constantly watching my stats as I watch football on a Sunday, and seeing how my team is. I'm in potentially a rebuilding year this year. That's a funny thing about a dynasty. I might actually have to lose this year.
Oh, so you can get a good draft?
Yeah, because right now, as it sits, I'm down to one quarterback.
Okay.
And that quarterback is under sexual assault allegations.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. And so I don't know at this point if that quarterback is going to play this year.
And you can't really play without a quarterback.
Well, you can. You're probably not going to win.
Okay.
I mean, you would have to have a stellar day from all of your other players to go without a quarterback.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of keep looking, and this might be a down year for me.
Okay.
It happens. Like I said, in a dynasty, you have to go through a rebuilding year. I've known others that have done it and skyrocketed back to the top. We'll just have to see how it goes. I'm following the news and watching, and every time I see Deshaun Watson's name come up on the news, I'm like, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Last report, there was only a month, was from a month ago, so I haven't seen anything since. So we'll see.
All right.
Well, and before that, he was making noise that he didn't want to play for the Texans anymore either. So he's been in all kinds of turmoil for months.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, he's down in H-Town. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Groovy.
he's the starting quarterback for Houston. One of the better quarterbacks in the league. He's a great quarterback. I hope he plays. So
okay, fair enough.
So yeah, that's my my nerdery for the week. I hope you enjoyed my dive into the obsession.
I did. There's actually some information that I've been following this, from a tertiary standpoint, giggling about stuff. But I did. I learned a lot. Not enough to probably play again. But it is nice to watch you guys play.
Yeah.
It's like the board game.
It's like the board game. You don't mind standing on the side and watching.
I can sit and
whereas
watch. Yeah.
I got to play.
Yeah. I'm not going to watch the game, but I will watch what you guys do. That's far more interesting to me.
Well, and I couldn't imagine not playing fantasy football right now.
Yeah.
Maybe someday I'll be tired of it, but not now.
Well, you've been doing it almost 30 years now, so 93?
No, 20. Wait. Gee, good Lord, I lose track of time.
It is almost 30 years.
Oh, my God, I'm an idiot. I can't do math.
Yeah.
I suck.
You're fine. You're
suck
fine.
at math. So yeah. So no, good. I'm glad. I'm glad you got to learn something on that.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to talking about that one. And
you wore a shirt,
displaying my old Cowboys jersey with Bledsoe on it. Because like I said, he was the very first player I drafted.
First player you picked. League.
I think I remember at least the first 10 players picked in that draft.
Nice.
So it was fun. It's been enjoyable for me for years, and I'm glad I got to share it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
No, thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks for switching with me. So
Oh, no, that's cool. I think we should do this a little more every once in a while, just to do we'll switch it up.
switch out.
Yeah. Because
I have ideas for the next one.
cool. I can look up a murder. It's okay. And you know what? We can always revisit subjects too. Right?
Yeah, we can. I mean, if there's new information, maybe
Yeah.
I don't want to do a rerun.
No.
But
I got you.
especially on the murder side of things,
Yeah.
if there's something new, a
Yeah.
new update, like one of the podcasts I listened to, they did an episode over the Golden State Killer, Iran's. And they did it before he was caught.
Oh, wow.
And so they came back
After he
and
was
did
caught.
all the updates.
Oh, nice.
So that
And the story makes more sense when you plug some, a known quantity into it too.
Yeah, and I think that was the one where he was a cop too,
Was he?
helping investigate. I could be wrong.
Okay.
I need to look that up, but I
right.
think
Cool.
I think I saw that he was a police officer intentionally leading them off
Down
the
blind
trail.
alleys.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we could always go back and do that, but I'm very excited to hear you cover the murder side of
Why?
things.
Thank you. I found one that I thought was kind of
Wait,
interesting
hold
to
on.
me.
The murdery side.
Murdery. Nice. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to do the murder of, or I'm sorry, I'm going to do the case of Nanny Doss,
The Giggling Granny.
the Giggling Granny.
I don't know the story itself, but I'm familiar with the name. She has shown up in multiple searches I've done where, I've done searches for wild, wacky murderers or top murderers or so on and so forth. And her name has appeared multiple times.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with the Giggling Granny.
the
I just don't know don't know the story.
Well, I have the story here. I found it fascinating. So Nanny Doss was born Nancy Hazel in November 4th, 1905. She was an American serial killer responsible for the deaths of 11 people between the 1920s and 1954. Nanny Doss was referred to as the Giggling Granny, the Lonely Hearts Killer, the Black Widow, and Lady Bluebeard. They also called her a self-made widow in the newspaper. So it kind of starts out at age 7, while the family was taking a train to visit some relatives in southern Alabama, Nanny hit her head on a metal bar on the seat in front of her. Yeah.
Head trauma.
Yeah.
Head trauma.
That's why I was, because this was the first thing I read. I was like, oh, we've been talking about head trauma. Yeah.
They're saying that they've found that a commonality in a lot of serial killers is some sort of head trauma in their past. And that's is it twisting something in their brain?
You know what? She believed it
changing
was
their moral compass.
Yeah, she believed that she suffered headaches, blackouts, and depression, and she blamed this and her propensity for murder on this injury.
Huh?
Yeah, she did. She was, that was one of the things she was really, she's like, hey, this happened to me because I hit my head. Like, I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't hit my head.
Well, you may be getting to it. So, I mean, does she try to use that as her defense later? Or?
No. She confesses.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it may be twisted a moral compass somewhere. So during childhood, her favorite hobby was reading her mother's romance magazines and dreaming about her own romantic future. Later, her favorite part was the Lonely Hearts columns in the newspapers.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The reason I say that, it's so very funny. Next episode, I have someone who does something similar.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
The Lonely Hearts column.
This keeps coming back up. Her father forbade the Hazel sisters from wearing makeup and attractive clothing as he believed it would prevent them from being molested by men. He also forbade them to go to dances and other social events. Now, there doesn't appear to be any evidence of him like beating them or anything. He was just a little strict.
Okay.
So Nanny was first married at the age of 16 This was in 1923, so not that uncommon.
Right.
Uh,
And
to,
in Alabama.
yeah, to Charlie Braggs, her co-worker at a linen factory. With her father's approval, they married after 4 months of dating. Bragg was the only son of a single mother who insisted on continuing to live with him after he was married. Bragg's mother took up a lot of his attention and limited Nanny's activities. The marriage produced 4 daughters from 1923 to 1927. The stressed-out Nanny started drinking, and her casual smoking habit became a heavy addiction. Both unhappy partners correctly suspected each other of infidelity, and Bragg would often disappear for days on end.
That's a bad sign.
Yeah. In 1927, I can't say the word seven. The couple lost their 2 middle girls to suspected food poisoning.
Oh.
Yeah. So soon after, Bragg's took the firstborn daughter, Melvina, she's going to come up again, and fled, leaving Nanny with her newborn Florine.
Okay.
Bragg's mother died not much later, and Nanny took a job in a cotton mill to support Florina and herself.
Hard life.
The mother may be the first murder. So
Is that not? It's not confirmed.
no, well, okay, she confessed to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, her mother-in-law.
Well, you talked that you had said there's no evidence of abuse or anything like that, but this is another one that you see often is a hard life. We had talked about Amar Sadi, or Amar. I can't remember his name.
The 8-year-old.
Yeah, the 8-year-old.
They were poor, and he didn't get much attention.
Yeah. Amar Deep Sada. There we go. Amar Deep Sada. Yeah, they were poor. He didn't get very much attention. And, it sounds like Nanny lived a hard life. I mean, worked in a linen factory.
At 16.
Those were hard.
Yes, they were.
Hard.
Especially in 1923.
I don't remember if it was the 20s, but I think it was. You should read the story of the Chicago Shirtwaist.
Oh, the factory fire?
Yeah.
Oh,
because Miranda did the play on that.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I was in tears.
It's very sad.
It's very, very sad. There were so many people that were trapped.
Yeah, because they had the door locked.
They had the door locked. The exit door. Yeah. And so now
didn't someone end up going to prison for that?
It wasn't covered in the play, so I don't know. I suspect if so, it would have been the manager who locked the doors.
Yeah, whoever made that decision needed to go to jail.
Yeah. But so the linen factory and now a cotton mill. I mean, these are not easy jobs. These are laborious jobs.
Yeah, I can tell you, I have some old family photos from a cotton mill up in Sherman, Texas. It does not look like a pleasant place to be.
No,
these are old, yellowed. Well, they're not tin types, but they're pretty close to.
Well, they were worked hard, long hours for very little pay. The working conditions were horrible. This is where the labor unions would start to try to get things changed, and the alphabet soup programs from Roosevelt to fix things just like this. So
because they were bad.
Anyway, sorry.
No, that's fine. No, it's a great color. So, so Braggs brought Melvina back in the summer of 1928, accompanied by a divorcee with her own child. Braggs and Nanny soon divorced, with Nanny taking her 2 girls back to her mother's home. Braggs always maintained he left her because he was frightened of her.
Interesting.
Yeah. Her second husband was Robert Franklin Harrelson. They met and married in 1929. So a year after she split with Braggs, she met Harrelson. They lived in Jacksonville with Melvina and Florine.
Florida?
I think it's Alabama at this point.
Jacksonville, Alabama. Okay.
Yeah. After a few months, she discovered that that he was an alcoholic and had a criminal record for assault. Despite this, their marriage lasted for 16 years.
Wow.
Melvina then gave birth to Robert Lee Haynes in 1943. So Melvina was about 19 or 20. So older than Nanny was. Another baby followed 2 years later, but he died soon afterwards. Exhausted from labor and groggy from either Melvina thought she saw her visiting mother stick a hat pin in her baby's head.
But
she was so messed up.
Oh, I've heard this.
When she asked her husband and sister for clarification, they said Nanny had told them the baby was dead, and they noticed that she was holding a pin. The doctors, however, couldn't give a positive explanation.
So they didn't find any puncture wounds or anything that. I don't know if there were. I mean, with a pin, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, hat pins. Those things are, those are pretty big.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hat pins aren't small.
Gotcha. I was thinking.
I mean, they're thin, but they're long.
Gotcha.
The grieving parents drifted apart, and Melvina started dating a soldier. Nanny disapproved of him, and while Melvina was visiting her after a particular nasty fight with her mother, her son Robert died mysteriously under Nanny's care on July 7th, 1945. So he was an active soldier that she was dating.
A couple of food poisonings and now a mysterious death.
Yeah, and the mother-in-law, too, before that, the first mother-in-law.
Okay.
The death was diagnosed as asphyxia from unknown causes. 2 months later, Nanny collected the $500 life insurance she had taken out on Robert. In 1945, Japan surrendered to the Allied powers at the end of World War II, and Harrelson was among the most robust partiers. After an evening of particular heavy drinking, he raped Nanny, and the next day she discovered Harrelson's corn whiskey jar buried in the ground as she tended her rose garden.
Go back. He raped her?
Yeah, he raped her the night before.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And she found his corn squeezins buried in the ground, and as she tended her rose garden. The rape had been the last straw for her. She took the jar and topped it off with rat poison.
Strychnine.
Yep. As a result, Harrelson died that evening.
Of course he did.
Yeah. As you do.
Right. You don't much live from, it's not like 9 to 5 where you can, where you live after ingesting that rat poison.
Nope. Especially since she said she topped it off.
Right.
Nanny met her third husband, Arlie Lanning, through another Lonely Hearts column while traveling in Lexington, North Carolina, and married him 3 days later. Like Harrelson, Lanning was an alcoholic womanizer. However, in this marriage, it was Nanny who would often disappear for days or months on end. But when she was home, she played the doting housewife. And when he died of what was said to be heart failure, the townspeople supported her at his funeral.
Let me guess, she collected life insurance on him.
Yeah, getting to that.
Okay.
Soon after the couple's house, which had been left to Lanning's sister, burned down, the insurance money went to Nanny. So he left his house to his sister. It burned down, and she collected the insurance money. So the sister didn't get anything.
I guess, so go back to Iron Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a story I'm going to cover, and now this.
Mm-hmm.
I guess insurance companies were just a high target for fraud.
Yes, apparently.
In those times, because
apparently.
So many you see where exactly this is people were killed, and someone collects insurance.
Yeah, I'll collect the insurance. Yeah, she banked that money, and after Lanning's mother died in her sleep, Nanny left North Carolina and ended up at her sister Dovey's house.
Dovey?
Dovey, yeah.
Dovie?
Yes,
that's my grandmother, my meemaw.
I love the name
That's
Dovey.
a southern name.
Yeah, Dovey is about as southern as you get. Almost as much as Weezer Boudreaux.
my meemaw was Dovey Dulene Cheney before she was a right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dovey was bedridden soon after Nanny's arrival. She died.
Okay.
Yeah. Fourth husband, looking for yet another husband, Nanny joined a dating service called the Diamond Circle Club and soon met Richard L. Morton of Jamestown, North Carolina.
Guess Lonely Hearts just wasn't doing it for her anymore.
Nope. Diamond Circle Club. It sounds like those old dinner clubs they used to have back in the day.
Sure.
Yeah. They married in 1952 in Emporia, Kansas. He didn't have a drinking problem, but he was adulterous. Before she poisoned him, she poisoned her mother, Louisa, in January 1953, when she came to live with him. Morton died 3 months later on May 19th, 1953.
My God.
That's fourth husband. Now we're up to the 5th husband.
That's the 4th that we've potentially killed.
Yeah.
Because
She didn't kill the first one. He lived.
Because you haven't said yet that it's her, but I'm going to go ahead and give my guess.
Yeah,
it's her.
Yeah, I think that would be a fair assumption, sir. So Nanny married Samuel Doss of Tulsa, Oklahoma in June 1953. Doss was a Nazarene minister who lost his family to a tornado in Madison County. Man, there's a lot of tragedy around this person.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was in Madison County, Arkansas.
There's a lot of tragedy in the 20s.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. The
or
20s
actually,
were
no,
not
we're farther than that.
Well, we're in the 50s now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we passed World War II and we're in the 50s. Okay.
Yeah. It was the South.
The golden age of America, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The golden age, which didn't really happen.
Right.
Yeah. Samuel disapproved of the romance novels and stories that his wife adored. In September, Samuel was admitted to the hospital with flu-like symptoms. The hospital diagnosed a severe digestive tract infection. I don't know why that's so hard for me to say. He was treated and released on October 5th. Samuel died on October 12th, 1954.
Was that arsenic?
Nanny killed him that evening in her rush to collect the 2 life insurance policies she'd taken out on him. The sudden death alerted his doctor, who ordered an autopsy. The autopsy revealed a huge amount of arsenic in his system.
So here's a point that you may find interesting, and I've heard this on several podcasts, that arsenic is very hard to determine that is a cause of death unless you know what you're looking for. When it is found, it's typically from a coroner who can smell arsenic.
Because it has an almond smell.
It has an almond smell, but not everybody can smell it. It's actually rare to be able to smell it. Yeah. And so it was funny because you mentioned the flu-like symptoms. I'm like, this is arsenic.
Somebody had the gene to smell arsenic.
That's I find that amazing that it has an almond smell and not everybody can smell it. So.
Well, you know why almonds smell that way, right?
No.
Because they have a very tiny amount of arsenic in them. That's why it's not good for you to eat, 5 pounds of almonds a day.
It's not good for you to eat anything in quantities of 5 pounds.
No. But I mean, like, you can eat almonds your whole life. It won't ever affect you.
It's when they talk about that, that such and such has caused this kind of affliction in rats. Yeah, because they pump their body full of it.
That poor rat. Yeah, this makeup's going to hurt this rat. Well, yeah, when you inject it into their bloodstream.
Yeah, which I don't think it's, meant to do.
No. I mean, you put it on your lips. Don't inject it into your system. It's not heroin.
So arsenic.
Yes. So Nanny was promptly arrested.
Oh.
She then confessed to killing 4 of her husbands, her mother, her sister, her grandson, and her mother-in-law.
Wow.
The state of Oklahoma centered its case on Samuel Doss because he was the last one, and they could definitively prove that there was foul play had happened. Nanny Doss was prosecuted by J. Howard Edmondsons, who later became governor of Oklahoma. She pleaded guilty on May 17th, 1955, and was sentenced to life imprisonment.
Life. Did you hear yourself on that?
Life. It's because we've been talking about like Dovey. She was sentenced to life imprisonment. The state did not pursue the death penalty because she was a woman. Doss was never charged with the other deaths, and she died from leukemia in the hospital ward of the Oklahoma State Penitentiary. Now, the reason they call her the Giggling Granny is because when people would come to ask her about it, she would start laughing about how she did it and how it was funny that no one caught on for 30 years. Because she finally got popped in 1953.
Right.
She started in the early 20s.
Wow.
She killed 11 people. And she confessed to all of them.
And I wondered why they didn't charge her with all the others.
Probably because they happen in other states. This is the only one that happened in Oklahoma. They could prove it. Let's do this.
Did we not have extradition laws?
Well, she only lived about 8 or 10 more years. So she died in like 64, I think.
So maybe people were trying to put those cases
Could be.
together.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just weird if you confessed it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had her for life. She wasn't getting out.
Right.
She didn't. She died in prison.
I guess it doesn't matter at that point.
I forgot at the beginning. I got some of this information from, of course, Wikipedia, but I got it from ThoughtCo, Murderpedia, Criminal Minds, and All Things Interesting.
Did you say Criminal Minds?
Yeah, Criminal Minds.
Not the TV show, but a website?
Yeah, called Criminal Minds. Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking up that one.
I think you should. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so I was like, oh, this is interesting. She's the Giggling Granny. And then I started reading. I'm like, oh, no, this is sad. She's killing children and people who are related to her. But she did keep it in the family, at least.
That's interesting. I had to pull up my notes for next week's episode. Because when you said that, the date, I was like, wait a minute, and I had to go look at mine. Mine actually happens a little bit earlier.
Okay.
And I'll talk about that more on next week's episode. But no, that was great. Like I said, I'd seen her name several times.
Yeah,
and I've looked up lists.
That's why I asked. I'm like, this is not one you've already planned on doing, is it?
I was eventually, but I hadn't read through it. Believe me, I don't have a hurt for information to look up.
Yeah, because I think the next one I do is going to be on a Japanese guy, but I got to get some more information on
this. This would drive Miranda crazy. One time when we were driving back from Las Vegas, I don't remember why, but we had to switch off of her phone and we plugged my iPad into the car because we were listening to podcasts. And she was looking at my iPad and she goes, oh my God, how many windows do you have open? And she had to close them. Well, and I say that to bring up, I currently have 21 tabs on my phone.
I've only got 2 open.
And they're all about murder. Every single one. They're all about murder, and it's things that I'm reading and following.
You need to quit threatening to kill people because they're going to come look at you. It's like, look at all this murder stuff he's got.
I guarantee I've been flagged by somebody saying, this guy reads a lot about murder and how to murder and weird murders and all that shit. Somebody has flagged me somewhere.
Somebody's flagged you and looking at you.
So,
no, it's for a podcast. If you're listening, it's for a podcast.
Oh yeah, I have no intention of murdering anybody except William. Wait, I didn't say that out loud. Did I say that?
Yes, you said that out loud. You said that out loud, and we have it on tape.
Well, we don't have it on tape, but yeah, I'm glad you said that. We do have it saved.
I'm using the recording or theatrical term on tape.
Yes, I know. I just had to give you grief on that since we don't actually use tape.
We don't
anymore.
use tape.
No.
Yeah, unless you're recording a new album and you're releasing it on a cassette tape.
But no, I do thank you for covering that.
Sure.
You did a great job.
Well, thank you. I was kind of nervous.
Nah.
Like the nerd stuff, I'm totally not nervous about. I can talk about that all day.
It's just us.
Yeah.
It's not like we have 1 million people out there listening live right now.
I want 1 million people.
Oh, I'd love to reach 1 million people. That'd be awesome. But, no reason to be nervous. I think you did great. I mean, it was great research.
Well, thank you.
And you gave me a story that I've wanted to look up and now have more information on.
There you go. You can look up Nanny Doss.
You'll find a lot of parallels on next week, and which I just find that so funny. Well, and the funny thing about that is, if you remember right, the one I'm covering next week, I was actually going to do on episode 8.
That's right.
And we ended up swapping them because we went so long on the nerdery side.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Let me do a shorter one.
Yeah.
And so I swapped what I was going to do for next week to episode 8.
Okay.
So the one I was doing for 8.
Okay. That's right. Because I'm the next episode we're recording. I think I'm doing something on Jean-Pierre Junot, and it's not going to be that long.
Right. So the person who I don't even know who it is. So
it's okay.
We'll find out. We'll find out. So I think you'll find it very funny. A lot of very similar.
Right on. Cool.
A lot of parallels you'll see. So it's pretty cool.
I'm liking it.
So it was fun to switch like that.
This is good stuff.
It. Yeah.
It's good stuff. Thank you for the fantasy football. I really kind of enjoyed that. I'm not interested in the game of football, but I am interested in the game of fantasy football, if that makes sense.
Oh, sure. And I'm interested in true crime and murder, so it was good to hear somebody else.
Yes.
I as I said, I listen to podcasts where other people do cover stuff, and and that's where things are kind of hard sometimes. Is when I see other podcasts have covered a subject I'm interested in, I do like to look and see when they covered it, because if it was very recent, I want to stay away from it.
Yeah.
But you know,
some of these older crimes, it's interesting to revisit some of these things because it's not a lot of people are talking about it, and it's fascinating. It really is.
A lot of people are talking about true crime, but then that's what I'm saying. I try to avoid ones where somebody has recently covered. And if I listen to a podcast and I hear a certain subject and I'm interested in covering it myself and doing the research myself, I want to look at when it was broadcast. Because if it was too recent, I want to shy away from it.
You want to be a couple of years away.
Maybe, or months at least, you know, because I don't want to seem like we're copying somebody else because, you know, I do all my research myself. I might listen to a podcast to get some information to see, you know, if there was anything that I missed that they covered. And then, which is also why I go through multiple websites because there's an episode coming up that I just finished last night that I got a lot of information on one site and then I moved over to another and there was some very conflicting information. And so I had to go to yet a third
to see which was correct.
Which was correct. And I kind of even talk about that. There's some multiple points, but anyway, so.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for letting us switch.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot. We need to do that more often. I think it'll be fun.
As we talked about, I think we'll probably do it at the quintessential anniversary.
Yes.
10 was an important one just because, wow, we're at 10.
We had episode 10. We've recorded 10 episodes. That is so cool.
But we'll probably do it again at 25.
Yeah. And then maybe
if
25.
If we make 50, you know, if we last that long, you know, who knows? We could get episode 10 could go live and we could have people just absolutely hate us and we end up leaving it.
Stop doing this.
We'll see. So.
Yep. Well, okay. So you can find us on our website, nerderyandmurdery.com. Our contact info is there where you can normally talk to me, Zig, about Nerdery. And you could talk to Geoffrey about Murdery.
Except for this week.
Yes. This week we'll have to swap.
But you can still call me about or email me about Nerdery.
Or
don't call me. I'm not going to pick up the phone.
No.
I don't pick up the phone. I
who
text,
is this person?
email.
I don't know you. Or you can talk to Will about something. You know, commiserations. Send him flowers. Ask him why he's doing this.
Ask him if he knows more than 5 words of vocabulary.
Well, no, he did. He said Lake Palestine earlier. We got it on tape.
Well, that's only 2 words.
Well, yeah, but that's more than he said before.
Well, that's true.
Okay, there's also a link there for our Patreons. If anybody wishes to help support us, you can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can link out from the website. And with that, until next week, I have been Zig. Oh, wait.
Nope, go back. I have been Geoffrey with your Nerdery.
And I have been Zig with your Murdery.
Cue the music.